Hello and welcome to this Thrive Today segment on how do the relational skills address my biggest problems. My name is Christy Harang, and today I'm joined by our president and co-founder, Chris Coursey, for a discussion on the topic of anxiety. So Chris, thanks for being with us today.
Hey, thank you, Christy. I'm glad to be here. Looking forward to our time.
Yeah, so we're going to address just briefly in this short time a little bit about what anxiety is, what it looks like, and the unique solutions that Thrive Today offers for dealing with anxiety. So, Chris, we want to jump in by talking a little bit about what is anxiety? What does it look like when you're dealing with anxiety? I guess, yeah, we'll just start with those questions.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And anxiety can show up differently for everybody in different ways. It is one of the more common mental disorders. About 30% of adults at some point in their lives will wrestle with anxiety. And anxiety is really one of the byproducts of difficulty using our attention. And so anxiety is where I'm actually scanning for things, for pain, for problems, for worries, rather than being able to amplify good things. And so I've heard Jim Wilder put it this way, that anxiety is actually rooted in imagination. So what happens is our brain is looking for worst case scenarios. And our cognitive brain is trying to resolve something that's going on with our emotional brain. And that's often why anxiety, we just think the worst thoughts that are not helpful. We lose our peace, we lose our joy. And it's very frustrating because we try to white knuckle it and we try to arm wrestle it and change it. And it just doesn't work so well. So I'm really glad that we're talking about this topic because a lot of us wrestle with anxiety and we're not quite sure what's best when we're dealing with it.
Hmm. Well, that's helpful to know because yeah, it can be frustrating, and your explanation helps share why that can be so frustrating. So, what are some common signs that someone's dealing with this, or that they might see in someone else that's dealing with anxiety?
Yeah, the mark of anxiety is we can quickly lose our peace. And so we end up becoming very tense. We feel rigid and tense in our bodies. We often shallow breathe. There's an excessive worry that starts to happen. There's often some fatigue, irritability. For a lot of us, we just have difficulty resting. We have difficulty quieting. And so you start to really recognize the signs of anxiety when you start noticing how it shows up in your body. And you especially will notice it in where your attention keeps going. So you might find it hard to focus on some positive things from your life or from your day because your brain, your attention wants to keep going back to the things that you're worried about. And frankly, there's nothing fun about that. It just kind of feels like we are in the backseat of our car and our fear is at the steering wheel. So it's not fun.
Yeah. And so would that also be, just as I hear you talking, to like when you just can't turn it off, you can't turn off your brain, you can't stop moving, you can't stop going. It's like this constant,
Yes, it is.
running.
Constant running is a great way to put it. And for a lot of us, we tend to notice our anxiety when we stop or when we pause, or often when we're laying in bed at night trying to like go to sleep and we're thinking about all the stuff from our day that we don't like. So normally when you stop long enough or you rest, that's often when we notice the presence of it, anxiety. And it just, yeah, what happens in our mind will show up in our body. And that's often why anxiety really takes a toll on our body in a lot of different ways because it just, yeah, it robs us of relaxing and breathing deeply.
So, Chris, we are a Christian Thrive Today. We're a Christian ministry that focuses on training people in relational skills. These are skills that we need to live a joy-filled life, to thrive in our relationships. And so, can you share a little bit about how our approach to helping someone deal with anxiety is unique?
Yeah, one of the things we specialize in is really helping people learn relational skills. And this means that we're retraining our brain so that we can think in new ways and recover when things go wrong and we get back to joy and peace from our upsetting emotions. And so learning relational skills inevitably grow our emotional capacity so that we're able to calm down when we get upset. We're able to find our joy when things are going wrong, and we're able to notice when we need a breather. We're able to see a little bit of what God sees when he looks at some of the pain or some of the problems that we're facing with, and be able to have some connection with the living God so that we're not alone. So relational skills really equip us to stay our relational, joyful, peaceful selves. And we could call it like a relational homeostasis. Relational skills help us be able to grow peace and joy and just reflect on the good stuff, share the good stuff with others, and be able to create connection and joy in our relationship. So we train those skills. We call them the 19 skills. So there's actually 19 skills, really 20 if we count skill 0. And these are all skills that we can learn. We create exercises and we do things to help people learn, not only learn those skills, but to grow the emotional capacity so that they can stay relational and be better versions of themselves.
Awesome. Well, in a minute, I'm going to share how people can learn more, but can you just give 2 or 3 quick, if someone's really stuck in a moment of anxiety, a moment of even panic, 2 or 3 quick solutions that they can implement in the moment to help bring themselves down and calm?
Yeah, you know what? There are a few things that we can do that could really help. One of them is what we train people to do, the exercises we call Shalom My Body. They could look those up on YouTube, but these are very specific practices that help people be able to infuse some peace into their mind and their body. We also know that deep breathing releases a neurotransmitter called acetylcholine, which actually helps you shift into the low energy state. It's called parasympathetic state. So deep breathing is a really good thing to do, and noticing the effects on your body. What we call the level 4, this frontal lobe on the right side of our brain, is really in charge of our body. And what it does, I like one scientist put it like this: if the prefrontal cortex is working, it says shh to your brain when things start to get out of control. So I like that image. So our prefrontal cortex comes online when we start paying attention to our body. So as you do the deep breathing, or as you do the Shalom My Body, exercises, scan your body. And what we're trying to do is enter that parasympathetic state to help us be able to be still and quiet. And the last thing I would say that we could do, since we are a Christian ministry, we train people to live with that awareness of God's interactive presence. And so even being able to speak out loud to Jesus what we're thinking, what we're feeling, what we're observing, even as we notice our body, and putting words to what we feel inside, that activates that prefrontal cortex, but it also helps us have a sense of God's peaceful presence. So these are very simple things that we can do. But what it does is it'll hopefully start turning down the volume a little bit on some of that anxiety and turn up the joy and the peace volume.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Chris. I just want to share how you can learn more. If you are wanting to get some help with anxiety in your own life, or maybe you want to support a friend or a family member who's struggling, you can visit us at thrivetoday.org/anxiety. And we have additional resources for you. Specifically, we have a free webinar on stopping the cycle of anxiety, where we touch on some of the things that we talked about right here, but go a little bit deeper. We also have an online course on overcoming anxiety in an unsettled world. And we'll also put on there the Shalom My Body exercise that Chris mentioned, and there'll be some additional resources that can help support you as you walk through this issue. So we just want you to know, if you're struggling, we see you, and we would love to be a blessing to you. And if you have any other questions about finding the resources that are right for you, you can always email us at info@thrivetoday.org. So thank you so much for being with us and joining us. Thank you, Chris, for sharing all that you had to share. And
Thank you.
we hope you have a wonderful day.